and we discussed different variations in volumes. I gave you a task in which you saw different graphs, how volumes change. We talked about intersection volume studies, how they are done, why they are done manually. We looked at the difference between arrival volume, departure volume, and what conditions the arrival volume is taken. And if you have departure volume, how can you convert it to arrival volumes? Okay, and there was a very small example for that as well. Moving on with the topic of intersection counting studies. So we will discuss for a few minutes more on this topic, and then we will move on to some other types of counting studies. So let's say your intersection for which you are doing the counting is a signalized intersection. On a signalized intersection, there are some special considerations. First of all, you have the advantage of assigning one observer to different movements, because movements happen at different times. In a signal or through a signal, movements are separated through time. So you know when signal is green, this particular movement will not happen, and this one will happen. So you can assign the observer to that particular movement, and when the next one operates in another green phase, the same observer can observe that movement as well. Okay, so this is your advantage. One more important point is the counting period and the cycle length. First of all, tell me, what do we mean by a cycle length? What is cycle length of a signal? What does it mean? Tell me. Cycle length of a signal, what does it mean? Anyone? Cycle length of a signal, we covered it in the delayed studies topic. Time from red to red, okay, or to be, yeah, start of red to start of red. Okay, let's be more precise. Start of one red to the start of the next red. That's good. Okay, thank you, Mahmoud. So the counting period, okay, the period for which you will count the number of vehicles, or period for which you will stay on the site, should be a multiple of cycle length. Okay, should be a multiple of cycle length. And we have discussed earlier as well as yesterday that you may have to, or you should give breaks to the observers. Okay, break for shifting from one location to the other location, or just for the sake of resting. So breaks are important. So if your total counting period is 2 hours, the observer may not be actually counting for 2 hours, because within that period you have breaks as well. So let's say you are taking a break of 5 minutes after every 15 minutes. Okay, so in 2 hours you may be actually counting for 1.5 hours only. Okay, so in that case, the full counting period must be a multiple of cycle length, and the actual counting period, excluding the breaks, should also be a multiple of cycle length. Both of them should be a multiple of cycle length. For example, if your cycle length is 60 seconds, 60 seconds means 1 minute, right? 1 minute. So if your total counting period is 2 hours, no problem. It's a multiple of 1 minute. 2 hours is a multiple of 1 minute, right? 120. And if you are giving breaks, and after the breaks the actual counting period is left 1.5 hours, that is also good. Okay, because 1.5 hours is again a multiple of 1 minute. But let's say your counting period or your cycle length is 90 seconds, so 1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes. Okay, now in that case you cannot do counting for 50 minutes. A counting period of 50 minutes when the cycle length is 1.5 minutes will not work, because 50 is not a multiple of 1.5, right? Okay, and same thing should be applied for calculating the actual counting period. Okay, so for example, you say my total counting period is 60 minutes. So 60 is a multiple of 1.5 minutes, no problem. But within these 60 minutes, you are giving a break of 10 minutes. So your actual counting period is 50 minutes. Okay, now again, we have the same problem. 50 is not a multiple of 1.5. So in that case, you may give breaks for 15 minutes. So the actual counting period will be 45. So 45 is a multiple of 1.5. Okay, so Important consideration is that cycle length or the observation period should be a multiple of cycle length, the actual observation period as well as the total. Why? The question is why. The answer to this question is that during your observation period, all movements must receive the green same number of times. Okay, so for example, you are saying that my cycle length is 90 minutes and I will count for 5 minutes. Okay, so 90 seconds I will count for 5 minutes. 90 seconds means 1.5 minutes. Okay, so your 5 minutes counting period is not good, because what will happen in 5 minutes? In 5 minutes, you will have one cycle, 1.5 minutes. Second cycle, 3 minutes. Third cycle, 4.5 minutes. Okay, your counting period is 5 minutes, right? So in 4.5 minutes, you will have 3 complete cycles. Okay, so 3 times all movements have received green. What will happen in the remaining 30 seconds? In the remaining 30 seconds, some movements or maybe one movement will have the green time, an extra green time. Other movements still are having red. Okay. So it may happen that your count may show higher value for that particular movement, not because of its actual volume, but because it received the green more times. Okay, so if you make the counting period 6 minutes and your cycle length is 1.5 minutes, then all you will complete 4 complete cycles. That means all movements received green time or the green indication 4 times. Okay, so if there is a variation, the variation would be because of the volume, not because of the counting period. Okay, so this is the reason that cycle length should be a multiple of the, or counting period should be a multiple of cycle length. Now we have a special case when signals are actuated. Actuated means what? Signals are connected with detectors and sensors. On the basis of data coming from the sensors, the signal timing changes. This is the setup of an actuated signal. When the signal timings are operated through the sensors and detectors installed on the roads. So in that case, cycle length is not a constant. It's not a constant value. So maybe cycle length now is 60 seconds. After 10 minutes, it is 70 seconds. So which cycle length should be taken for calculating the counting period? It should be the maximum cycle length. Okay. So in your observation period, the maximum cycle length the signal can go up to is 120 seconds. So counting period and the actual counting period should be a multiple of 120. That's it. Okay. Within the 10-minute period or within your counting period, it is going from 120 to 110 to 90 to 70. Not your concern. Okay. Again, this will make your life easier, because if you keep on, if you try to keep the track of the cycle length and try to make it, try to make the counting period multiple of that, you cannot do it. It's not possible because it's not a constant number. So just take the maximum value. The counting period should be at least 5 times of that maximum cycle length. You can go more as well, at least 5 times. And then what will happen to the explanation which I gave you, the argument which I gave you earlier? Okay, I'm just taking the maximum cycle length. During my counting period, the actual cycle length may be less than that. Okay, so what will happen in that case? Some movements will have more green than the other movements. But this is less of a problem for actuated signals, because in actuated signals, the sensors are dominating, or they are influencing the timing of the signal. So movements which have more volume will receive more green time than other movements. Okay, so the problem that some movements will have more green time than the others is not a big issue for actuated signals, because in your observation period, the signal is already making the compensation of giving more time to movements with more volume. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, the signal will automatically give you those movements for more time which have which have more volume. Okay, so for actuated signals, it is allowed to just take the maximum cycle length, even if the actual cycle length can be lower during the observation period. Okay, Now, how do we represent the data for intersections? I will show you three different variations of this representation. This is the first one. So you see some basic information at the top: name of the intersection, day, date and time, observer and city. Then you see the sketch of the intersection. In the sketch, you see the boxes, and these boxes are showing the number of vehicles for each direction and for each movement. Okay, so for example, 750 is the number of vehicles coming here. 400 number of vehicles coming from here, from this side, and out of this 430 are taking the right turn. You can see the box, and with each box you can see the arrow. So the arrow is basically showing the direction of movement. Okay, so 30 are going right, 300 are going straight, 70 are taking left turn, and so on and so forth. So boxes are representing the value of the volume, and the arrows and their connection are showing the direction of movements. Then we have this particular diagram. So you see again some basic information: the north arrow, the period of counting 12 hours, the time for which the observation is done, the day and the date. And then in the figure it is slightly different from the previous one, because now you see arrow heads and tails. This is an arrow tail and this is an arrow head. So arrow tail means the movement is coming from here. Okay, so 7,307 are vehicles coming from here. Okay, and arrow head means movement is going towards this side. So 8,030 vehicles came towards this side of the road. Okay. Again, you see arrowheads and tails are connected now with lines, and on these lines you see the number. Okay, so lines are showing the movement direction and the number are the vehicles going into that movement. Okay, so 1201 vehicles took a right turn from the main street to the from the Blossom Street to the main street. Okay, similarly 5897 vehicles went straight on the Blossom Street. Okay, and so on and so forth. So the numbers on the line are showing the volume for each movement, and the number in the arrow head and tail are the total for each side. Okay, and the lines are showing the direction of the movement. Another important thing about this diagram is the size of the arrow head and tail. All arrow heads and tails are not of the same size. By size I mean the width. Okay, their width varies according to the volume. So if a side has more volume, it will have a bigger arrowhead or a bigger arrow tail depending upon the direction. So for example, the biggest arrow tail is this one on the main street, going from the main street to other directions. So which is 8139. So this is the biggest or the largest arrow tail, and the largest arrowhead is for this direction because it has the biggest number. Okay, so the largest one will be that one which has the biggest number. Okay, so the arrowheads and tails are scaled according to the number of vehicles. This is the template which they follow in Bahrain. So you have the name of the intersection, you have the peak hours mentioned, okay, and they do the survey in the peak hours: AM peak hour, PM peak hour, evening peak hour. You have the time of the peak hour, you have the day and date. There's the code given for this study. So this is the code for the study, and this is the date and day. Again, I don't know why, 29. Then you see the north arrow. You see the sketch of the intersection here. So this is the intersection between Sheikh Salman Highway, Salmabad Avenue, and Oman Avenue East. So on each side you see some boxes, and boxes are in different colors. Each color represents a different peak hour. So blue is for the AM peak hour, pink is for PM, and green is for evening. Okay, and then for each within each hour you see different boxes for each movement. So right turning, this box; straight is this box; left is this box; and U-turn is this box. Okay, so depending upon the number of movements allowed, we have the number of boxes. Okay, and then you see the number within the boxes, which is showing the value. Okay, the volume. Now let us discuss an extended form of volume study, which is limited network study. Up till now, we have discussed volume taken on specific locations. Either they were segments or they were intersections, but one location at a time. We were dealing with one location at a time. In limited network study, you are dealing with a network of roads. So this is not one location, this is an entire network of roads. So this network can be of different sizes. This is the smaller of the sizes, smaller, okay, not small for us, but smaller compared to the other type. We call it limited network. Why we call it limited network? Because the size of the road network which you will study is dependent upon a traffic generating facility. The location and size of this limited network depends upon a specific traffic generating facility, a facility which generates traffic in high amounts as compared to normal residential units. Obviously, each house and each building generates some traffic, but there are traffic generators or facilities which generate a lot of traffic as compared to them. Okay, for example, airports, sports facilities like stadiums, shopping malls, these are all considered as traffic generators because traffic generated by them is significantly higher than other facilities. Now, can you give me another example for a traffic generator facility, a facility which generates more traffic than others? Go ahead.
University, doctor.
Great. Okay, I asked this question in the other section as well, and they gave me the same example. So I think you guys are missing the university, coming to university, right?
Yes, doctor, so much.
Inshallah, we will have exams.
No, doctor, not for exam. Not for exam.
Okay.
We missed the university just for walking and doing exercise there.
Okay, so now limited network studies are very common, but we don't call them limited network studies. We call them you will, if you go into this field of traffic engineering, you will see many studies are conducted in which you try to see the impact of a facility on the roads, either before you have designed the facility or either you have after you have constructed the facility. Okay, in both cases we do this type of study, and the name given for the complete study is known as traffic. So limited network study is a part of traffic impact statement, traffic impact assessment study. Okay, because in traffic impact assessment you do other things as well, but limited network study is a part of it. So the main idea is to see the impact of a facility on the surrounding roads. Okay. I started by saying it's a smaller network. Then I keep on saying it's limited network. Don't mistake me for about the size of the network. Don't mistake my words about the size of the network. Okay, don't take it lightly. Even a limited network is very large. It will have hundreds of segments and intersections. Okay, so if you try to observe traffic for the entire study period on all segments and intersections, you will need a lot of time and resources and money. Okay, so doing a full-fledged limited network study is not possible. It's impractical. To try to do it, it will take a lot of time and money and resources. If you do it manually, or even if you do it through sensors and detectors, it will take a lot of time and resources. So we don't do it. Okay, what we do is we on all segments of the network, we take a sample of data, not full data, sample of data. Okay, so on all points of the network, on all segments of the network, we take a sample of the data. Okay, so our life becomes easier, our task becomes easy. Later on, using that sample, we try to calculate the actual full data. So for example, the study required 24-hour count. You did not do 24-hour count on all segments. maybe each segment you did account for 1 hour or 2 hours. Then using that count and some other information I will explain later on, you will convert that partial or sample of count to full 24-hour count. Okay, so this is known as statistical manipulation or simple calculations. Okay, in simple words, we do some calculation to find out the hourly map of volume or to see the trend of volume in each hour of the day. So we don't have the data for all hours of the day. We have a sample, and from that sample we will calculate for each hour of the day later on. Okay, how do we take the sample? For doing the sampling, first of all, identify portions of the network which are similar in characteristics. Okay, so for example, there are some portion or there's a portion of the network where you have arterial and it's a residential area. Now the data which is collected from a residential area will not be valid for a commercial area. I think this much you can agree on. Okay, very easily. It's very easy. So for example, if I ask data or if I collect data for civil engineering students, okay, and I try to apply it to mechanical engineering students or to architecture students, will it work? No. Same thing with the traffic data as well. First of all, divide your network into portions, smaller pieces, which are similar in characteristics to each other, similar in terms of type of road and type of area. Okay, so arterial, collector, local road, residential area, commercial area, portions of the network which are similar to each other. So in that particular portion, all segments are of the same type and they are in the same type of area. Okay, so their demand and traffic flow will be the same. Pattern will be the same. Traffic value will be different, but pattern will be the same. Within each portion, then you identify few segments, very few segments as control count locations, and then the remaining will become coverage count locations. What do we mean by control count and coverage count? Control count locations or control counts are counts taken for the entire study period. So if you require data for 24 hours, I will take very few. Now, keep in mind, I'm emphasizing on the word very few control counts. So on very few segments, maybe one. On very few or maybe one segment, I will take the count for the entire study period. So if I need the data for 24 hours, on one segment at least, I will do the study for entire 24 hours. On the remaining segments, they will become coverage counts, and out of the 24 hours, I will just take a portion for the counting. So maybe out of 24 hours, I will do it for 1 hour or 2 hours, and that's it. So that is the coverage count. So in control counts are very few, and you take the data for the entire study period. Coverage counts, the remaining segments. All the segments which are not controlled, they become part of coverage counts. And on those segments, you take a sample of the data, which is for portion of the actual study period. Okay, a portion of the time, required time. Some guidelines to establish the control and coverage count location. First guideline is the ratio of control and coverage. The ratio of control and coverage should be 1:10 minimum. It can go up to 1:20. So 1:10. What do I mean here? Do I mean 1 control and 10 coverage, or do I mean 1 coverage and 10 control? What do I mean here? When I say ratio is 1:10 or 1:20, what do I mean? Which one is more? Which counts are more? Control counts are more. Is control count 1 or the coverage counts is 1? And the rest is the other one. 10 is the other one.
Control is more, Doctor, I guess.
Control count is what? 1 or 10?
Is 1.
1. Okay. Control is 1. Good. Jafar, Raneem. Yes. Great. So, so you understood the point. Good. So control is 1, and for each control you can have 10 coverage counts. Okay, and it can go up to 20 as well. And the point number 2 and 3 I've already mentioned that the control count and coverage count should be in the same portion of the network. Okay, so same portion means same type of highway and same type of area. So for arterials in a commercial area, you will have 1 control, and the remaining segments will be coverage. Collector in a residential area will have 1 control, the remaining segments will be coverage and so on. Okay, so you have to keep in mind. All counts are taken at mid blocks. We don't count intersections. Mid block segments, we only count them. We don't count intersections. Okay, because we have already studied earlier, taking count intersection is more complicated. You need more people, and so on and so forth. So we try to make our lives easy. Even you are required to do the counting on a mid block on a segment, right? You will do it for your term project because it's easier. Okay, so you see, I'm very considerate. Okay, I'm very soft about my students. That's why I'm not giving you counting for intersections. Anyways, it's easier for me to check as well. Okay, so now the problem may be your client may not understand this. Your client may say, I need the count for the intersection as well. What should I do? The answer is in point number 5. Okay, point number 5 says all segments of the network must be studied either as control or as coverage. So there should be no segment. So you are studying all the segments. Some of them are control, most of them are coverage, but you do not leave out any of them. Okay, so you cannot leave out any segment. Okay, so this will give the answer to your client. If the client says this is an intersection, so there are 4 segments meeting at this intersection, the client says, what is the count here? Or what are the number of vehicles coming from each side on the intersection? So you have already counted vehicles on this segment, and on this segment, and on this segment, and on this segment. So these are the vehicles coming towards the intersection, right? So you have the intersection count coming from these 4 locations. So why should I go and count the intersection again? Okay, so if the client asks for the value of the vehicles on the intersection, I can use the values which I have collected on the segments and I can merge them together on the intersection. Okay, so but intersection count is not taken because it will make field work more complicated, more complex. So we will calculate it if required. If intersection count is required, we will calculate it. Okay, just to explain the point further, this is our campus, right? The university campus in the blue circle. Okay, and what do we call this area? What type of area do we call it? The area in which we have our campus. What type of area is it? Huh? What type of area do we have our campus in? Huh? Traffic engineering? What do you mean? The entire area is named traffic engineering? I'm talking about the physical area itself. The area in which we have the campus. What do they call this area? Our Isa Town campus. What do we call this area? Educational area. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, education area. Okay. So we have the educational area. Okay. This is educational area. On the other side of the road, you have the residential area. Okay. Then you have these arterials, Sheikh Salman Highway is an arterial, Saklal Highway is an arterial, 16 December Highway is an arterial. Within the educational area and Zytown area, you will have some collectors and residential, local roads. Okay. So for example, if I'm doing the limited network study here, and this is the network of the campus. Let's say I'm doing a limited network study for our campus. Okay. So these are the roads which are mainly affected by the traffic. Okay. So on this side, I have the education area and I have collectors, arterials, and local roads. So I should make, so this will become one portion of the network and this will become another portion of the network. So in each portion, I will make some control counts and coverage counts. Okay. And when I'm selecting the control counts, I should select one on an arterial, one on a local road, one on a collector in this segment, and the same thing for the other segment as well, for the other portion as well. Okay. So in each portion of this network, you will see coverage counts on all segments and control counts, one for a arterial for a portion, collector for the portion, and local road for the portion, and same thing for the other portion, which is toward the other side of the road. Okay, so this is how you do it. Again, this is not a complete plan. This is to explain the idea how we should do it. Okay. Now we start with an example. We start today, and I will show you different variations of calculations in the same example. Okay, so the network is the same. The network is same, the data will change, obviously. So this is a network of 7 segments. All segments are part of the same portion. So all of them are on the same type of road and in the same area. Okay, so you can take calculations, or you can take data from one point and apply the trend to the other points as well. So you see one segment is marked as A, that is the control count location. So on point A, I have taken a control count. Okay, so whatever time was given to me, I have studied segment A for the full period. The remaining 6 points, which are given as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, are coverage count locations. So on the remaining points, I will take a sample of the data. Okay, I will take a sample of the data. So now keep this in mind. 7 points, 1 control, 6 coverage. Okay, and they are in the same area on the same type of road. Okay. So in the first version of this example, they are saying find out on each link. So on all the 7 segments or on the 7 links, I need data from 12 noon to 8 p.m. Okay, 12 noon to 8 p.m. Okay, on any typical weekday. Typical on our typical weekday or any typical weekday means 1 day is enough for me. Okay, so I can, if I do the study on a weekday, any weekday is enough for the client, because he did not say this particular weekday or for 2-3 days. He just say any typical weekday. So I can do it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 1 day is enough. Okay, so I need 8 hours of data on any weekday for all the 7 segments. On the second statement, you see the restriction. The client has hired a very poor, poor in terms of money. Okay, very poor consultant, and that consultant only has 2 teams. Okay, only it has the consultant only has 2 teams. So 1 control count. Okay, so 2 teams. If he is doing manually, then you assume he has 2 teams of people, and if he is doing it using sensors and counters, that let us assume that he has only 2 counters. So if you remember, I said control count must be taken for the entire study period. For the full 8 hours of the study day, the weekday on which you will go for the study, 1 team or 1 counter will be on the control count location on point A, on segment A. Okay, so out of these 2 teams, 1 or these 2 detectors, 1 is on the control count. The remaining, I have 6 segments and 1 team. Okay, so obviously I don't need the full 8 hours of data on the other locations because they are coverage. How much data I should take for the coverage location depends upon my decision. Okay, it is totally my decision. I can say that I will only take 30 minutes of data from each location, coverage location, or I will take 45 minutes of data, or 1 hour of data, or 1.5 hours of data. It depends totally upon me. Okay, in this study, they have decided that on the 6 coverage locations, for each location, the data will be taken for 1 hour. Okay, so you see the data which is collected. So 1 team or 1 detector took the data for 8 hours for the coverage count location A. On the remaining, control count location, that is location A. For the remaining locations, which were from 1 to 6, the data was taken for 1 hour each for every location. Okay, so on location 1, it was taken from 12 to 1, and this is the count. Location 2, 1 to 2, this is the count, and so on and so forth. Okay, so on the other locations, I have data for 1 hour only. Now I need to convert this 1 hour data into 8 hours data. This is my task. Okay, because for the control count location, 8 hours data was required. I have the 8 hours of data. No problem. Okay, so let us start with the calculation. So I will do, first of all, the thing which is very obvious, which is to calculate the 8 hour count for the control count location. Okay, so you have data for all the 8 hours, required 8 hours. You just add them together, you will have the total 8 hours of data. So give me the total for control count location. Anybody has a question? Traffic generator. Okay, okay, fine. So give me the total 8-hour counts for control count location A. Tell me. 7067. Okay, so control count. Now using this, I will calculate the proportion of 8-hour count coming in every hour on the control count. Let me make a table here. So I have the given hour and the factor. Or let me make one more for the count. So hour, how much was the count in that hour, and what is the proportion of traffic, proportion of total traffic coming in that hour. Okay, we will call it the expansion factor. The expansion factor, why we'll call it the expansion factor, I will just explain it later. Okay, so I have hour from 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. Keep the notes in front of you, maybe we'll do the calculations quicker. Okay, so count for each hour: 825, 811, 912, 975, 1056, 1153, 938, and 397. Okay, now how do we calculate the expansion factor? The expansion factor, as I said, the proportion of total traffic coming in that hour. So for the first hour, traffic is 825 and the total is 7067. So that will become the expansion factor. So give me the expansion factor for the first hour. How much is this? Hurry up.
Zero point 0.12.
Okay. Next one. So the next one, just the total will remain the same, and just change the count. Okay, next. Okay, next. Sure. Recalculate 975 upon 7067. Next. Okay. Next. Next. don't worry if you have a small difference in the values, don't worry about it. Okay, now since you have calculated the values, you would say that the trend of traffic on the control count location is the same as the other locations. The other coverage locations have the same trend of traffic. So if on control count location, 12% of total traffic comes between 12 to 1, then this is the same traffic which comes between on this hour on the other locations as well. Okay, so for the other locations, I can apply this factor to convert the traffic of that hour into the 12-hour count. Let me go here. For example, on location 1, between 12 to 1, we have 840 vehicles. So between 12 to 1, 12% traffic comes of the 8 hours. So this 840 is 12% of the total 8 hour. This 840 is 12% of the total 8 hours on this location. Similarly, on location 2, the data is from 1 to 2. So this 1 to 2 value is how much of the total? 11.5%. Okay, so this is how we will calculate the 8-hour count for the other locations. Okay, so now let me make another table. So I have the location, the count, and the hour as well. I will write the hour as well, and then the 8-hour count. Okay. Hour in which the data was taken, 1 hour count, and then the 8-hour count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hour 1 to 2, 2 to 3. 4. So you see, I had 6 locations and I had 8 hours. And I already selected that I will spend 1 hour on each location. So to cover 6 locations, I can do it in 6 hours. So I had 2 hours which I spent in doing nothing. So for the 2 hours, I did not collect the data, which was not required. Okay, so you see no values between 3 to 4. Okay, and similarly no value taken between 7 and 8 because not required. I've got all the locations with sample of equal size. That is it. Okay, so I don't have 3 to 4. I have 4 to 5, 5 to 6. I think I missed something. 1 to 2. Sorry, should start from 12 to 1. 1 to 2. 2 to 3. 2 to 3. Then I have 4 to 5. Then I have 5 to 6. And I have 6 to 7. The values are 840, 625, 600, 390, 1215, 1440. Okay, now if you want to calculate 8-hour count for location 1, so you have the count between 12 to 1, and this is 12% of total. I know it from the control count location, and all locations should follow the same pattern as I said earlier because they are part of the same portion of the network. So 840 divided by 0.12. Okay. So this will give you the 8-hour count. So give me the value, please. The 8-hour count for location 1. 707. Okay. Then location 2, the count is this one, and the factor should be taken for this hour. So this factor. By 435. Next. Yeah, you can round off. Simple round off. Round up, round down. Whatever is the nearest. Whatever is the nearest, just do it. 4651. Okay. Next. Now, next, be careful because the hour. We have missed 1 hour. Okay. So 390. Again, for the sake of explanation, 390 divided by this factor, which is for this hour. So 0.15. 2617. Assuming you did what I said. Next. 7454. Last. 10827. Okay. Now let's say your client has another demand that he wants to know the peak hour factor, or sorry, the peak hour volume. For all locations, he needs the peak hour volume. Okay. To calculate the peak hour volume for control count locations, it's very easy because for control count locations, I have the data for all the hours, for all the 8 hours. So I can compare between the hours and I know which hour has the highest volume, which is this one. So this becomes my peak hour. Okay. Now, since we said the traffic pattern is the same on all locations, so 5 to 6 is the peak hour for the other locations as well. Other locations, location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of them have the peak hour volume between 5 to 6. But for these locations, I don't have the data between 5 to 6. Okay. I have the data for a particular hour and I have calculated the total 8 hour now. Okay. So what I will do for the other locations, I will calculate the peak hour volume. I'll calculate the peak hour volume using the total and the proportion of traffic which comes in the peak hour. Okay. So our peak hour volume. So for example, the total for location 1 is 7179 and the peak hour out of this 16.3 comes. 16.3 of total, 16.3% of total comes in the peak hour. So this will give you the peak hour volume for this particular location. Give me the value. All 170. Okay, now when you go for the next location, what will change? The factor or the total or both? Tell me. I'm multiplying two things here, right? The factor and the total volume. What should change? Should I change both of them or one of them? If one of them, then which one? Volume only, because we are still talking about the same hour. The peak hour for all locations is the same, 5 to 6 p.m. So the factor will always be for this hour, so 0.163, but just change the volume, the total volume for this location. So give me the value now. So for every location, just take the total from the column beside it and then multiply with 0.163. 886. Okay, next one. Okay, very quick. Thank you. 427. Great. 1215, which is the same because it was taken in the peak hour. Okay, so you get the same value. Okay, and 1761. Okay. So I'll stop here, and on Thursday, inshallah, we will continue with the same example with some variations. Any problems, any queries, any questions, any suggestions, anything you want to say? Okay, you are welcome. So I hope everything is clear. I'll see you guys on Thursday, inshallah. Have a good day today and tomorrow and Thursday as well. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for participating and listening to me. Assalamu.